Right, welcome one, welcome all. We've got a very, very exciting card in Newark, New Jersey this weekend in UFC 316, the rematch between Merab Dvalishvili and Sean, the Sugarman O'Malley. We're without our boy Grant today, but Wells and I are going to give you our insight into the card, our favorite bets, and just kind of the vibes we're on here heading into UFC 316.
We're moving to the grooving. We got Sean O'Malley versus Merab Dvalishvili. Dun, dun, dun. All right, here we go. We got Markel Medeiros versus Mark Choinsky. First time hearing about this fight, but Jackson was kind of briefing me that Markel might not be in the best shape, so let's dive into that.
Yeah. So that's kind of an important, or I'd say a very important asterisk next to this fight is that Markel pulled out of the Balaji Oki fight because he was very, very ill. At least, according to him, he couldn't eat, couldn't walk. And here we are, only about a week later. He's got to cut weight again. So I am suspect or suspicious of the fact that he's going to be able to be 100% going into this one. And he's a 2 to favorite here against Mark Chonsky, who I think is a bit of a sneaky option here with the way the odds are looking. Very good mixed martial artist, transitioned from wrestling to MMA, D3 college wrestler. Very, very comfortable striking, though. Almost more comfortable striking these days, it seems, than wrestling, or at least he doesn't elect to go to his wrestling as much. But decent combos, pretty diverse skill set on the feet, decent kicks, confident on the feet. So good to see from a guy who has wrestling in his back pocket like that. Markel, mostly a striker, can also grapple pretty good takedowns, pretty good takedown defense at 85% as well, which should, prove a bit of a challenge for Mark if he does opt to go for that wrestling. But Markel is coming off a win over Austin Hubbard. Definitely gassed a bit there in that one. He slowed down in the second and third rounds, I would say. And that's like another note here is he gassed, and I wouldn't say even arguably in his last fight, despite getting that win. And if he has the same cardio here and isn't at 100%, like what kind of Markel Medeiros are we going to be looking at is the question. He was sick a week ago. Mark, I think, has a real chance at winning this here if he can be on the front foot, bring the pressure to Markel Medeiros. Definitely needs to threaten the wrestling a bit more than he has, in my opinion, in the last couple of fights. He needs to mix things up because Markel is a really clean striker, despite him being sick. He's definitely technically more sound of the two on the feet, I would say. But I am going to start off with a banger here and go with Mark.
Yeah, I think I'm just going to follow you here and go with Mark by sub. Him being that wrestling background and Medeiros just basically not being in shape. I think you can pair those things relatively well together, and, well, we'll see. Even the takedown defense so far in his career is pointing otherwise.
Yeah.
So
I think I'll go with a decision of victory. I'll go KO for Mark. Just catch Markel slipping, kind of, I think.
I like it. A powerful, powerful chin beard thing here. So we move forward. All right, Quillan Salkid versus Yanal Ashmos.
Dude, it's like Quillen's head got turned upside down on Yanal and vice versa. Like if you turned around Quillen's head, it would be
I
Yanal.
agree. I 100% agree. This is definitely an interesting fight. Quillen's had kind of a soft resume coming up, but I don't really know what to make of, because he had that surprising win when he first came on the scene against Sam Patterson, who, is But
Pretty
I don't
alright.
know. Walk us through it.
Yeah, Quillen, Contender Series alum out of Australia. Good striker, pretty diverse bag of striking attacks, implements kicks well. Long guy, too, 75-inch reach, which will be a big advantage for him here. And he is pretty good at managing range. He's also fine inside the pocket. Will light you up with some knees and some elbows. Coming off a knockout win over Indian prospect Anshul Jubli, maybe former prospect, but Yanal Ashmu is definitely more experienced than Quillen. Probably a bit more well-rounded than Quillen too, as far as the grappling goes. Also a competent striker, a lot of power behind the hands, has some flashy attacks on the feet too. Uh, and then if the striking isn't going well for him, he'll transition into the wrestling where he's pretty competent, good grappler. Just very well rounded, not the best at anything, but he puts it all together well. Very powerful, definitely tough. Coming off a win over Trevor Peak, um, which I mean, pretty much anybody with decent technique can get a win over Trevor Peak. So I think Quillen is ultimately going to be the better striker of these two. So I think Yanal is probably, I think it'll start out striking. Yanal is probably going to have to mix it up, switch to the wrestling eventually. So we're going to see how good Quillen's takedown defense is here. Not the, most explosive takedowns or anything, but they're definitely there. He averages a bunch of fights. So I think it's going to be a way closer fight than the odds suggest. I feel like I'm not giving like a very clear pick with this one, but I'm going to go with Quillen. I think if he can defend the takedowns, he should be fine here. He's like I think there's a pretty decent striking gap, but man, am I not betting on Quillen. Like if anything, even though Quillen's the pick, I might throw a little bit of a sprinkle on the Yanal side of things. So like,
I'm just going to go with Quillen by decision here because if we're being completely honest, from what we talked about before, we're going to be taking some deep swings each. So gonna getting my favorites while I can here. Yeah, so Quillen by decision for me. Sorry, buddy, not today. But on to the next one. We've got Jekka Sarhigi, or however we want to pronounce that, versus Yu Song. Yeah, walk us through this bout. This is actually a pretty dope arm sleeve. I'm not gonna lie, it looks really clean.
it is kind of sick, yeah.
But yeah, walk us through it.
Yeah, so we're going south with this one. Jew, good striker, pretty good movement, switch stance, can also switch hands pretty fluidly. Uh, Good forward pressure too. Mostly a striker. Uh, like I said, movement is good. He's got a wide base. Yeah, he has grappling in his back pocket. Um, Also has takedowns and is pretty big on the ground too. Hard to get you off of you when he's on top. And Jekka, pretty hit or miss guy, I would say. Definitely powerful. Um, Not the most skilled guy technically in the world, but he can grapple. He has some BJJ. Um, like I said, powerful, kind of chinny. Throws absolute bombs though. Got subbed pretty much instantly by Weston Wilson in his last fight. And yeah, I think Jekka has a puncher's chance here. He's super powerful. He can knock out Ju Sang with probably a single punch, but I don't really see that happening here, nor would I put my money on that happening. I think the better fighter all around is going to be Ju Sang Yu, and I think he should win pretty comfortably here.
Yeah, I'm just going to follow you on this one, even though I am a bit more cautious. But I could easily see things going wrong here. Like, what is this Kawada guys? All right, so he actually fought some fights. All right, so he fought some guys who have fought some fights, which is essentially what Jekka is here, right?
Yeah, exactly.
All right. Yeah, I'm just going to follow you and go by decision with Ju Song Yu.
Yeah, I think probably decision here.
Just doesn't scream excitement for me. So perhaps we'll get some more life than I'm expecting. All right. Ariane Lipsky versus Wong Song. Yeah, let's get into it. I'll let you get rolling here.
Cool, yeah. I mean, the odds for this one just out the gate are absolutely atrocious. Like, I don't understand them at all. Wang Kong is, I think, like minus 600 to Lipsky's 4-1 dog odds. So it's crazy, but a lot of hype seemingly behind Kong Wang. So, but Lipsky's pretty good, decent striker, definitely has grappling too. Kind of a fish on her back. She's not really going to have to worry about that here with Kong Wang, who's not. I mean, she has offensive takedowns. She's implemented that, so props to her for that. But she's not a grappler by any means yet. She's not going to threaten, a ton of control on top. I think against Ariana here, who should be able to get up. And that is because Wang Kong moved from kickboxing to MMA. famously beat Valentina Shevchenko in kickboxing, and she brings all those skills from kickboxing with her. Good striker, powerful, fast. Like I said, has been adding in the offensive wrestling as well, coming off the Bruna Brazil win. This is, like you said, odds here are crazy. If you're going to be taking any dogs, you're likely going to be taking some long shots on dogs. I'm going to go with Lipski or Ariane De Silva here. Just giving her the slight lean. I think she's more well-rounded. I think I could honestly see a sub here. I also like the +3.5 for Lipski. I already have a money line bet on Lipski, and I'm probably going to be all over this one, honestly. The +3.5 is just there for safety, but I could see her finishing this one inside the distance, so I'm also, once the props drop, probably going to be eyeing up that submission line.
I'm just trying to, it's like you're saying, the odds are just far too long. And I'm trying to see, any reason here, at all, to be, in on, Wong Song.
Yeah.
She had the 2 takedowns that she completed, in theory, against Bruna Brazil.
Yeah, it's good to see some improvement there, but
that's really about it. So I'm just going to go with De Silva by decision. I just think she's going to get the round game essentially going. I just think Wong Song's too easy to take down for a lot of these girls. There's a transitive property we can go with that dates to Shauna Bannon, but we'll see.
Yeah.
All right. So we move forward. All right. Chaos Williams versus Andreas Gustafsson. What should we expect here?
Yeah. So these guys have kind of been getting tossed around with canceled fights the past couple of weeks. Finally, it's kind of perfect for each other because they've both kind of been in the same situation. But Andreas basically asked for this fight. Chaos said yes. And Chaos is a fun striker, pretty diverse striking arsenal, nice kicks, works the legs. Very tough guy, pretty much always looking to finish you, get you out of there. In his last fight, he was subbed by Gabe Bonfim, and kind of seemed to just be a little bit over-aggressive in that one, was chasing the finish a bit too hard. Defense, kind of just a lapse in the defense, allowing Gabe to slip in, get in position. And he's going up against Andreas Gustafsson, who has been searching around for his UFC debut for a bit now, and finally found it with Chaos Williams. He is a pretty good grappler, good wrestler, transitioned to MMA from wrestling. Heavy hands, basically there to set up the takedowns eventually, but he is very powerful. On the ground, he'll, hit you with some elbows before looking for the submission. He's always looking for a finish, similar to Chaos is. And yeah, this is an interesting one, I think. Chaos, the veteran, last fight had nothing to offer really outside of just head hunting, basically. Didn't like to see that. But Andreas Gustafsson on the other side of things isn't the most technical striker or anything, but he is really good in the wrestling and grappling department. And that's a tough one for me to pick, man, because I think it's going to go 2 very different ways depending on who wins this one. Chaos is obviously going to be looking to stave off those takedowns after the striking ultimately starts going his way. Gustafsson had to cut weight twice as well, I believe now, which is another concern. That's kind of a lot for your body to take. So give the slight lean to Chaos, stave off those takedowns. He's the veteran. We've seen a larger body of work from him in the UFC, so I'll go with Chaos here.
Yeah, I'm just going to follow you on Chaos by decision. The weight cuts are concerning to me, and just has a much longer UFC resume where I can't tell if by having this long of a period to find your fight, if that's just cherry picking or there was a bunch of issues or whatever. But here we are, almost a year later.
Yeah.
So we've got Sergey Spivak, if I can space, Polar Bear Man, versus Waldo Cortez Acosta. What should we expect here?
Yeah, this is an interesting one for sure. I think it's almost a pick-em in the books, but should be a good fight. Sergey, really good grappler, Great on the ground, nice ground and pound, decent submissions and transitioning between positions. Okay on the feet, pretty good volume for this weight class. Not a ton of power behind his hands, though. Um, on the ground, I'd say his biggest weakness is that top control. You'll see he averages 4.56 takedowns per fight. What that tells you is that he allows his opponent to get up on him all the time. So the control really isn't there. He's coming off a loss to Jailton Almeida. Um, and then Waldo is a little bit different in the sense that he's more of a striker, a little bit more exciting than Sergey is fight style wise. He's an athletic guy, tons of power in his hands, a really high volume, striking differential, 5.76 to 3.47 absorbed, which is really good. He's been looking particularly hot recently. Also a decent grappler, coming off a knockout win over Ryan Spann, where he just looked dominant. He looked super explosive, looked great. Sergey, I think I like Waldo here. I think honestly, I will probably end up placing a bet on Waldo too. I'm going to be watching that line. He seems to, even though he's aging a bit, he seems to be looking good recently. Like you could even argue looking better fight over fight, despite his age. He's super fast, super powerful. Sergey is like a particularly unathletic guy here, and I think that's going to shine through, or at least I'm willing to put my money on that shining through. So I'll go with Waldo, probably by knockout.
Yeah, I'm just going to keep rocking with. Yeah, I'm probably just going to follow you on this one, honestly, again. It just makes the most sense. He's kind of trending in the right direction. There's nothing to really pull it against him. Whereas, like, Sergey, he's just kind of getting in that point of space where you really are starting to question his chin.
Yeah, totally.
So, going to be fading that for now. All right. Actually, nah, we'll keep it rolling. Asmat however you want to say that, versus Brenton Ribeiro. How should we be looking at this one?
Yeah, so we've got a huge favorite in Azamat, and I mean, I definitely think everything does point to Azamat here. The odds seem a little bit overblown, though, in my opinion, because Benson is not a bad fighter or anything. He's a pretty good striker, also good BJJ. The takedowns really aren't there at 42% accuracy to set up that BJJ, but he's very dangerous on the ground, both off the top and the bottom. He's a black belt. Pretty well rounded, like I said. He's an exciting striker, but he can definitely be hittable. Is a little bit shitty. Kind of tends to quit sometimes if things aren't going his way. So going up against a guy in Azamat Mirzakhanov, who's super powerful, really heavy hands, knocks all of his opponents down literally. It's happened in all of his UFC fights. Also a good wrestler. Doesn't lead on the wrestling, but it's definitely there. Coming off a knockout win over Alonzo Menafield, where he looked good. He got hit pretty hard, but recovered in that one in the second round. And yeah, like I said, I think this one just points to Azamat here. The wrestling's pretty good, insanely powerful, tough. Brenson is chinny, tends to quit. So I like Azamat on the front foot here. I like that he was able to find the finish against Alonzo Menafield. So I'll go with Azamat, big favorite.
Yeah, I'm just gonna go with.
We might be getting different here.
I kind of want to switch my last pick. I'm not gonna lie too.
Do it.
Just to get different. Yeah, I'm gonna go Sergey Spivak on the last one by decision. Just think the wrestling potentially pushes him through, even though I think he could easily get chin.
Definitely could happen.
I'm just trying to see if there's like someone on this resume that I'm really that sold by, realistically on
Brenson's.
Because like you're saying, like Brenson.
I mean, the Menafield knockout was pretty good. Like that was a pretty good win for him.
Yeah, I think I'm just gonna rock. I just don't like the 8-year age gap here.
Yeah, I feel you.
That's where I'm getting kind of like, is that not being priced in enough by the market? Like,
I mean, I definitely don't think it's the right price.
well, that's kind of what I'm thinking as well. Is like, do I now start taking chances at these larger prices? So
I think
sorry.
there's definitely a strategy behind like taking the ones where you're like, well, this isn't my pick, but if they're me these odds, like
Yeah, I think because I'm also trying to think. It's like, how would Brenson realistically win this one? And I guess it would be like by knockout, right?
I think I think probably by sub. I probably
You
by
think by
sub.
sub?
Yeah,
All right, then we will go with Brenson by sub. Get a little bit different with it there.
I like it.
Start taking some shots on these longer underdogs because some of these prices are just absolutely atrocious.
Seriously.
All right, on to the next one. Bruno Silva versus Josh Van with a price that's just very ugly, but this one makes more sense to me at least. Like, I can easily understand why it's set like this.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, Van, one of the hottest prospects in the game for sure, deserved of, some respect from the bookmakers. 7-1 is kind of crazy for a guy like Bruno Silva, who's pretty well rounded. He's a veteran too, definitely more so than Josh Van. He's powerful, good wrestling, submissions are pretty nasty. Um, Takedowns are not the best or the most explosive, but the drags and trips are there. Um, he started off in the UFC on a little skid, and is coming off a loss to Manel Kape, but between those, he put together 4 finish wins. Um, and Van, good, pretty well-rounded guy, no base in anything other than MMA. He's been training that his whole life, and you can see it in his fighting. He's good in scrambles. He's well-rounded. Takedowns are good. Striking is solid. He's aggressive. He likes to stay on the front foot, and it improves through all of his fights, which is something you love to see, especially from a guy so young. Could potentially be the face of the UFC someday. Um, Coming off the Ray Cerrutia win, where the striking looked super clean. Gave up a couple of takedowns to Ray, but otherwise looked really, really good in that one. Um, yeah, I mean, I Josh Van should win this. He's faster. He's, you know, the far better striker. The takedown accuracy isn't all there from Bruno Silva. Um, but Bruno's a super powerful guy. We saw Josh Van get put to sleep by Charles Johnson just a year ago. Like, I think these odds are just insane. Bruno is getting no respect here, but it's got to be Josh Van for just the pick.
Yeah, I'm gonna go with Josh Van by knockout. I think they're gonna. At least it sounds like Bruno's path to victory is they're just like trying to really stand and bang in some sense. So maybe he gets chinned here. All right, on to the next one. We've got Vicente Luque versus Kevin Holland. I have a feeling that Luque is going to be a very popular dog, and that is not somewhere I will be. So walk us through this one.
Yeah, this should be a fun fight, or at least good to see where both of these guys are at. Vicente, pretty good everywhere, powerful guy. Okay wrestling. I mean, the wrestling is good. It isn't really reflected in his stats. 53% takedown accuracy and 62% takedown defense. So kind of mids there, but I would say he's a pretty good wrestler. Um, but he does prefer to strike. And he is coming off a submission win over Temba Garimbo, and going up against Kevin Holland. Yeah, Kevin notoriously struggles with his takedown defense, but is a very good striker. A good black belt in jiu-jitsu. When he is on the ground, grappling is fully there. Very accurate on the feet. He's pretty powerful, good range. That length gives him a lot of pop in his punches. 81-inch reach, which should be significant here against Vicente Luque's 75-inch reach. Coming off the decision win over Gunnar Nelson, which I believe we called as an upset when that happened, but we're on the Kevin side of things in that one as well. And the grappling looked good in that one. Striking looked pretty good as well. He almost finished him there. So Kevin is a good striker. A really good grappler. We kind of know his profile super well by now, but we also know that he kind of is. You can't trust him with game plan. You can't trust him with being ready for a fight at any given time. Um, Vicente definitely can fight everywhere. He can wrestle, like I said. Um, but I don't know. I think this could be a Kevin Holland fight here. Like, not too impressed by the offensive wrestling of Vicente. He looked pretty good against Rafael Dos Anjos, but otherwise, I don't really know. Kevin has that reach advantage. He's a good striker. He's going to be fighting to kind of stay in the UFC here. So I think it could be maybe a little bit closer, but I think it's pretty fairly priced, and I'll stay on the Kevin Holland side of things.
Yeah, Kevin Holland by decision. I'm just not going to overthink it. His competition he's continued to face, regardless of how they've been finished, is just drastically better than what Luque has in his career.
Yeah.
So, rocking with that one. All right. We got Mario Batista versus Patchy Mix. Jackson has been hyping up this fight for months now, it feels like. So, without further ado, walk us through a guy that you have been on for a minute now.
Yes, and that guy is the Patchy Mix. Um, yeah, Mario Batista. So it was announced before this fight was announced that Patchy was going to be coming to the UFC in some capacity, or he left the PFL, asked to be released by them. And Mario Batista was supposed to fight Chito Vera, and you know, Patchy. It was the obvious replacement, in my opinion. Patchy is potentially the best bantamweight fighter on the planet. I'm excited to see him in the UFC, but he's the former Bellator world champ, defended that twice. Nasty, nasty grappler. Um, Always looking for the finish. The takedowns are good too to back up the submissions and the grappling. Super long. Um, 13 submissions in his 20 wins. So definitely think this is going to be a close fight. Mario, obviously, a seasoned veteran, good amount of high level wins. Weird decision with Aldo, I think personally. I think Aldo probably won that one, but I am a true Patchy Mix believer. Takedowns are good. The grappling is going to be there. I think it's going to be a Patchy Mix sub. Mario doesn't actually have very good takedown defense, so yeah, it makes sense to me.
Yeah, I'm going to follow you on the Patchy sub there. Not going to overthink it. You know a lot more about this guy than I would, so I'm going to roll with you there.
Let's go, Patch.
To the next one. Kevin Gastelum versus Joe Pyfer. Walk us through this one, how this fight should go, and let's get it rolling.
Yeah, it's a polarizing fight. You've got one guy in Joe Pyfer who said some nasty things about Mexico, probably hates Mexico a bit too much. And then you got Kelvin Gastelum, who probably loves Mexico a bit too much. Made a YouTube series he has a YouTube series called Missing Weight. About a week before his fight, he posted a video of him eating like 20 tacos, then actually missed weight for a fight. So guys are on the polar opposite ends of their feelings about Mexico, it seems, and Mexican food, because Joe seemed to have some bowel issues when he was out there. But yeah, interesting one. Pyfer, powerful guy, pretty well rounded, good BJJ, hits hard, good takedowns over at Marquez MMA. Pretty good team over there, honestly. Coming off a good win over Marc-Andre Barrialt. And Kelvin, good wrestler, very tough guy, powerful guy. Just no commitment at all, though. Very, very talented. Could have been an amazing UFC fighter. Just terrible, terrible decision making. Doesn't take his career seriously. So I'm going to go with Joe Pyfer, who I know does take his career seriously. I trust him and Marquez to, get it done here, have the right game plan for a guy like Gastelum. So, yeah, pretty easy decision for me in this one with Joe Pyfer.
Yeah, I just think it sounds like Pyfer also, as much as there is a potential other issue going on between these two.
Kelvin's is worse.
Pyfer just sounds like he's actually just a lot more dedicated to his craft as well. And when he wins in dominant fashion. So I'm going to go with Piper by knockout. Just, yeah. Hopefully tacos will be eaten together after this one. I don't know. All right. Juliana Pena versus Kayla Harrison. I've been a big Kayla Harrison stan for a while now, but just going to go out and get in front of this. Like, the line for this is ridiculous. She should not be a minus 800 favorite. Like, I'm willing to support it a line similar to what Joe Piper has in like minus 400, but minus 800, just that's insane. But with that said, Jackson, let's preview this.
Yeah, I would agree. I don't think it should be an 8-1 fight. Kayla, Kayla. I think Kayla should be a big favorite here. I definitely agree with you in that sense, though, about the pricing. It's just weird all across the board with this card, but she is very accomplished. Uh, Two-time gold medalist, Olympic gold medalist, at American Top Team now. Obviously, a physical specimen. Has a ton of power. Judo is obviously world class, best in the world, pretty much. Um, Striking just okay. Um, she is coming off the win over Ketlin Vieira. Kind of left a little bit to be desired, honestly, based on the hype. But Ketlin seems to be aging well. Ketlin looked good against Macy Chiasson. So, and obviously there's room for Kayla to keep improving in her mixed martial arts between fights. She's only had a couple. So, Juliana, multiple time world champion, beat Nunez, lost the belt, took a break, won it back. She's really tough. Obviously, the coming back after a long time getting that belt back is a testament to her longevity. Well rounded for sure, an absolute dog. Moves forward at you, is explosive, aggressive. Um, Not the most skilled, but she's always working. She's always in your face. And that's basically the edge she has over opponents in most of her fights. She never lets her opponents get going. Um, and yeah, the odds here are crazy. I won't be touching this one. I'm going to go with Kayla Harrison. She's big, um, and maybe she could slow down here, but we've seen her fight 5 rounds worth of fights before. So um, she's definitely more skilled overall. I'm just gonna go with Kayla.
I'm gonna. It's the odds thing. I'm very confident that one of these two girls' fights is going to be the upset, so that's how I'm going to go into it with this logic. I believe Kayla is probably going to win by knockout or something like that? Yes, that is my actual belief. But based off of me being an idiot, I'm going to go with Pena by decision here. Maybe sub if you're feeling like really nuts. Um, but that's just going to go with. I think the odds are just far too nutty. So, with that said, we move to our main event: Sugar Sean O'Malley versus Merab Dvalishvili. Probably pronounced that wrong, and this is not a good look version of Sean. But let's walk through it.
Yeah, I did use an old version of Sean, didn't I? But yeah, Merab. And this is basically comes down to this is obviously a rematch of their most recent fight with each other, and it comes down to whether you think Sean in like that exact same scenario has an actual chance at winning, which I think he does. Merab needs to be able to do his thing in this one for 5 whole rounds because I don't really see him getting the finish. So that's 5 rounds for O'Malley to catch him, but yeah, I still think it probably should be a Merab win. The chain wrestling and cardio are just insane and so hard to deal with. It's obviously going to be what O'Malley's preparing for in this one. It's exactly what he was preparing for in the last one too. Um, Insane amount of takedowns. Like the volume is insane. Um, Coming off the Umar win, uh, got. He was losing a bit in the beginning, but it's the exact same thing that he does in all of his fights. Just the relentless wrestling got him the win there in the back half of the fight. Sean O'Malley, we know who he is too. Really good striker, spinning attacks, and a super diverse arsenal of striking attacks. Powerful, accurate, punches have a ton of pop to him. So do his kicks. Very technical. Good reach too. And yeah, he was taken down 6 times in the Merab loss. Merab also doubled his strikes in that one. I don't. I mean, you're just giving O'Malley twice as much time to basically find a knockout against Merab. Is kind of how I see this, and I'd prefer to put my money on Merab doing the exact same thing all over again. So I think it's Merab here.
I have one thing I need to search. So, did Sean O'Malley quit smoking?
Did he?
I saw a report about it a long time ago. But it does make me wonder, because if that's something that happened, it makes me curious to see, like, is he in a better mental almost?
Yeah. What if he's in a worse mental?
Or if it's even worse, it's
Yeah.
definitely possible. The technical bet is definitely Merab. But trying to see if there's anything that like is selling me.
It's just no fun at 3.5 to 1, dude.
That's what I'm saying. Like the odds for this seem a bit longer than they should.
Yeah.
Because it's like trying to see like mentally of who he's gone against that like you can also be like, oh yeah, that's another great grappler, and it's like Sterling's really the only one. Jan you could technically make a case for, and that was very controversial for Sterling. I mean Sean O'Malley to even win that one.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think you just have to go with Merab by decision. Like,
I honestly I think that bet too is like -150 compared to the odds. Like I do think if Merab wins, he probably wins by decision, which I don't think is a terrible bet at
yeah,
-150.
I agree. So, all right, that's all we got for this one, guys. Grant will likely be on the next one with us. So until next time, we hope you all have a great day. Until yeah, peace now.
Peace.